Hello, dears. It's so good to be with you again. This may be my last video for a little while. I'll be taking a break with some other projects. I've very much enjoyed my time with you. And today I would like to talk about something that has been coming up for me. I consider it kind of a download because it's been very helpful in my personal life, and I hope it will be helpful to you as well. I'd like to start with a reference from the text 14, chapter 14. In the Circle of Atonement, it's in a different section, but I think it's still in the Blue Book in text 14. And the quote is, "You cannot understand how much your Father loves you, for there is no parallel in your experience of the world to help you understand." And that is so true. When we live in the world of ego, there's just not a break. It's from one thought of lack and one thought of jealousy, one thought of anger, one thought of better than, one thought of worse than. We're all very familiar with the ego. The Course does an amazing job in the first, I don't know how many lessons, where it really directs our thinking to show us that our thinking is really insane. And when we believe our thoughts, which the ego does, the ego creates the thought, then the ego believes the thought, then the ego makes the thoughts an idol. And then when the thoughts are not helpful, then the ego punishes us. So many times in the Course, we're shown that you can't go to the problem for the solution. And what I would like to share today is something that I've been sharing in my classes. And the metaphor is about two swimming pools. Because most of us are living from an ego quite a bit of the time, we kind of think we can learn from a course, we can learn from non-duality, we can learn from this teacher and that teacher, and kind of stay a little bit here and a little bit there, and never 100% embody, live, do any path. So it's like we can actually be on a beach walk and be with one foot in a tide pool and the other foot on the sand in the beach, and we're still walking. But there are two separate, if you will, swimming pools. Most of us don't imagine that we could actually swim in both at the same time. And so this has been very useful for me. What is in each pool? One of the things that isn't often mentioned, but is very clear in the Course, is that when we withhold, we are withholding from ourselves. It actually ends up being the thing that we're missing out on. So if we withhold love, we withhold appreciation. It's the opposite of judging. When we judge others, we end up feeling judged ourselves. We may not make that connection right away. We might think, oh, we're having a bad day and I judge this person, or I'm having a bad day because this person is so icky. But let's say the one swimming pool is the ego. And we kind of know what that is like. It's full of unworthiness, it's full of judgment, it's full of attack thoughts, it's full of lack. It's spiritual bankruptcy. Now, is there anything in the middle? We'll get to that later. I would like to talk about what is in the other swimming pool and how do you get there? Well, the Course tells us, give it to Holy Spirit. If we give it to Holy Spirit, which is within us and is our connection to God, if we give our junky thoughts, if we give our feelings that we're so attached to it, and basically our beliefs, if we give them all to the Holy Spirit, the Spirit will take it from us. If we actually left it there with Holy Spirit, that would work. Because that would mean we were no longer involved with those thoughts and feelings in the sense of attachment. It's really, really important, this word involved. Because in non-duality, we're told that if we don't interact with the junky thoughts and feelings, if we witness them, then in 90 seconds, science tells us we'll have another thought. But that problem is, the reason some people have a problem with that is that, let's call it the observer, is not a witness. The observer is still involved. Like, let's say I'm observing a feeling of my unworthiness. Well, the observer says, yeah, you don't deserve a good day because you just judged that person and look at your attack thoughts and, you know, how are you the holy Son of God? And on and on. And sometimes we're not so ignorant as to say those things out loud because we know better. Our spiritual education is that we know better, but we're having the feeling as though we just told ourselves we're a piece of junk because of whatever it is we thought we did. So the observer is not a witness. I did hear Mooji one time. Let me finish that sentence first. The observer is not a witness if they're still involved in any way, attached, have an opinion, have a feeling, have another thought about what they observed. So hopefully you're with me. The point is to have some distance because you can't actually witness if you're all involved. And I wanted to tell you this story. I can't do it as well as Mooji did, but he gave this wonderful little playlet, if you will, where there was an incident and someone hit someone else, and then a crowd got involved. And so then it finally came before the judge, and these people were told by the police that they should show up as witnesses. And so the judge says, so you tell me what, Mrs. Kane, you tell me what happened. Well, this man hit this woman, and then this other man got involved, and the crowd started pushing and yelling. And what did you do? The judge said. And well, she said, I started yelling too. No man should hit a woman, no matter what. And he says, you're not a witness. You're actually part of the situation. So maybe we should actually consider you part of the defendants that in this case, because you were involved, you were part of the yelling crowd, and the person who is being accused said that, I won't get involved anymore in the story, but then he goes to he goes to another witness, and each one said, well, I was just observing. And then this woman said, aren't you going to help? And so then I started helping too. And so each person was denied being a witness because they had eventually involvement in the situation. And I love that story because it sticks with me. I can see that I am not the observer that becomes the witness that can be helpful. Why is the witness helpful? The witness is helpful because the witness represents our willingness to let it go. When we stay involved with the story that our ego is putting out in our first swimming pool, which is all about efforting to manage the world, all about I do everything. It's all up to me. There is no spirit in the first swimming pool. It's all management by the ego, by the self, by the separate self, if you will. But now, how do we get to the second swimming pool? Well, you could say that when we, in a way, dissociate, when we observe what we thought and what we felt, but it no longer feels as much like who we are, like it happened. I thought that, I felt that, I did that, but that's not who I am. Now we have entrance to the stairs of the second swimming pool. The second swimming pool is a place you can just float. And maybe the temperature is a little chillier than that first swimming pool that's so comfy. We have a little bit of startle. We don't know how to do it by habit because we're not used to living in joy. We're not used to living effortlessly. We're not used to belly laughing and being, what's the word I'm looking for? Impromptu, in synchrony with life. We're not used to being led. We're used to being the manager and the leader. Can you imagine the release we would feel if we actually let go? I believe that's what that sentence is about that I read to you in the beginning. You cannot understand how much your Father loves you, for there is no parallel in your experience of the world to help you understand it. So we're kind of detaching from our belief in who we are if we're going to let go of our thoughts and our feelings and our being right. That's all in that first swimming pool. We could call this second swimming pool God's pool. We could call it the Father's house. We could call it Father and Mother God's house. We could call it the universal grace. It's effortless to be in this gratitude pool. We could call it the aliveness place because doesn't it feel dead when we're slogging through life as the ego? Now, in this spontaneous pool, it's like for most of us, we accept the weather. We might have an opinion like, oh my God, it's raining again today. we've had, too much rain in this area or whatever. But most of us don't fight the rain. I've said this before. In this pool, this second swimming pool, it's the what is pool, where freedom is possible because we don't fight what is. Many of the sages, as Dove has told us before in class, many of the sages have said, I do not mind what is. That is how I can be happy. So if we take it like the weather, we don't have to agree with the weather, but we can be one with the weather in the sense of not fighting it. Wear the appropriate clothes. If it's raining, bring an umbrella. If it's cold, put a hat on or a coat. But it's effortless when we don't fight. Are you with me? This is not hard. The ego wants to make it hard. All of the lessons in A Course in Miracles can be what the witness is. All of the lessons lead us to detaching from the ego. And what's left is the second swimming pool. What's left is the blocks to love have disappeared. They've been removed. You, as the ego, don't do it. It's done for you. And that's what I believe is meant by you don't take the final step. You leave everything behind, like in lesson 189. I come with wholly empty arms. That's what swimming pool 2 is. Just floating, not wanting, needing, grasping, demanding anything. And all is given. All that really matters is given. And what really matters is our connection, our knowing that we are innocent, letting go the polarity of innocent and guilt. You can't be innocent if you're still finding condemnation of guilt. For me, the second swimming pool is being out of the polarities entirely. And why I like the swimming pools, and I'm sharing it with you, is very easily during the day, I can see, where am I? The Course tells us love or fear. Well, this is just a different paradigm. Which swimming pool am I locating my trust? You're trusting one or the other. You cannot trust both, not at the same time. So one of the tricky elements is that we have a lot of faith in our beliefs. But trust is something else. And I believe they're put together a little bit in the Course, but it's well described that we trust our thinking, we trust our beliefs in separation. And that's what causes our troubles. Let's have a little meditation now together for our last time for a while. So happy to be with you. I know I will miss you. Let's start in this swimming pool of God, this second swimming pool, this effortless place of floating, this place that synchronicity happens and we're led. where we end up truly helpful because we don't do anything without being led. And before we relax in this second swimming pool, I want to again mention that when people hear of letting go, the ego always says, for many, many people, well, why should I do anything then? Maybe I'll just lay on the couch. Well, this is a universe of motion. Energy is not static or stagnant. You can't keep it without motion. So it's not possible to do nothing. You will do something. Is it from the second swimming pool where you're led and you're being moved and you will be a peaceful force in the world, a force of connection? And if you are led by the second swimming pool to say, no, that is unjust, I will not let you hurt that person, you will know that that was yours to do because you were led. So it doesn't always look pretty, like the ego wants to say, oh, look at my spiritual self. I'm so kind. I'm so loving. No, it doesn't always appear that way. Sometimes we need to use a bigger voice. Sometimes we need to stop a brother or sister. And that energy is very clear when we are to do something. So let's say we're floating in this pool, feeling the oneness with nature, with the blue sky, and the clouds that are forming around the blue sky. And we're actually in a swimming pool, and we've gotten used to the colder water because we're not used to being in this oneness swimming pool, if you will. And then we have a thought, oh, I should have called my sister. I should have called my daughter. Oh, I forgot. Oh, now I'm starting to feel like that punishing feeling, that guilty feeling, that not good enough feeling. What if I just step back and say, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I was starting to move over out of this pool and see if I couldn't still get into the old pool where I know how it is. And I know that feeling. It's familiar. I shoulda, woulda, coulda. But what if I don't take the bait this time and say, oh, I know where that pool ends up. That's a hurting pool. That pool ends in psychological suffering, that first pool. I kind of like this second pool better, where nobody does anything wrong. There are thoughts, there are feelings, there are judgments about those thoughts and feelings, and then more come. But we are not those thoughts and feelings. This second swimming pool is leading us to know that we are something unlimited. We are free. We're not the body. We're not an age. We're not a personality. We're not a self-image. We're not our behaviors. We're not our past. We're not our future. That's the neti-neti path to enlightenment. What are you not? You're not a woman. Yes, you're a woman, but you're not limited to a woman. You're more than that. What? You're a man? Yes, you're a man. That's just your bodysuit, but that's not who you are. Are you interested in that deeper question of who am I really? What if I really am this nothingness that's everything? If I'm not a self-image and I'm not a personality and I'm not a body, then what's left? Oh, I'm nothing or everything. Well, if I'm everything, I must be made of energy, just like everything else, like the trees and the plants. I look different from you, and you look different from the plants and the dogs and the cats, and they all appear separate, but that's just our vision. They are a formation. They are an embodiment, but they are not limited, and neither are you, to the look of your separate self, to the feel of your separate self. You're not limited to your actions, unless your memory wants to feed and go back and live in the pain and suffering, lack and limitation of the swimming pool. Number one, I think you might be relating to how tiresome that swimming pool is. It's kind of dark, where the other swimming pool that's a little chillier because it's unfamiliar is full of light. Now, in our last few minutes, I wonder if you can develop a few of your own symbols for this second swimming pool. For one, for me, is belly laughter, an easy laugh that comes in when I'm feeling well and I'm relaxed and I'm feeling friendly. Is there a symbol for you? Another symbol for me might be a dress that my daughter Melissa had in her closet that she was going to wear on a big stage. For me, that's not clothing. That's a symbol of interwoven destinies. That if I ever speak on larger stages, it will be because that is what our interwoven destinies has in mind. I like the second swimming pool to symbolize our intertwined destinies. It feels like connection, not just with Melissa, but with all people. What would be in your swimming pool that would symbolize for you that relaxation, that effortlessness? Is there a smell, a certain perfume, a fragrance of a flower, something, sandalwood, that's relaxing? Sometimes people have incense that reminds them of the freedom from their meditations. Is there a look? Is there a safe place where you know this freedom of the second swimming pool? Is it a beach? Is it a cottage? Is it a person? Is there a person that could represent holiness for you? The holiness that you are, that everyone is. I will be quiet for a few seconds, and then maybe after this video ends, you could jot down any symbols that you could bring up during the day to program your mind along with your lessons in A Course in Miracles to help you remember this second swimming pool is available right now. Remember, we all have in our brain an RAS, reticular activating system, that will sort and find what you're looking for. So if you can have a concrete object to actually connect with this second swimming pool that is not about the world, paradoxically, it can help you remember to choose love instead of fear. Thank you very much. May love go with you. I hope to see you again. Bye-bye for now.